Bonjour les étudiants, so welcome back and happy Diwali. So forgot to wish you the other day and so belated happy Diwali. Hope you had a prosperous and a safe Diwali, so which is really important. And so today we won't be doing anything big. So we'll be just doing three exercises from lesson 7. So lesson 7 it's Au marche at the marketplace. We got some around 13 to 14 exercises, I guess. And in that, we'll be omitting two or three exercises. Two exercises, I guess, we'll be omitting, and the other exercises we'll do. But today, we'll be doing just three exercises. So 12, 13, and 14, I guess. I'm not so sure. We'll see in the slides. And so it's actually about passé récent, présent progressive, and futur proche. So which are really easy. And so just sit back, enjoy the video. Okay, so please take notes, finish the classwork. Okay, and be safe. We'll start the slides. And here, lesson 7, au marché. Lesson 7, at the marketplace. You can write at the marketplace or at the market. Marché, which means market. So do not get confused with the verb and the noun form. So this is actually the noun form. So marché, which means a market, it's a place. Right? And the verb marché, which means to walk. Right? Anyway, we got the same spelling and the pronunciation for the past participle of the verb marché. Right? So lesson 7, au marché, at the market. Today we'll be doing just the three exercises, 11, 12, and 13, which are marked in your book. So the 11, 12, and 13. So there is a small error in the numbering of the exercises in this lesson. So anyway, we'll just write as it is given in the book. So 11, 12, 13 in order to avoid confusion. So, voilà. So the 11th exercise, mettez les phrases suivantes au passé récent. Oui, mettez les phrases suivantes au passé récent. So you got 5 sentences that you got to change. Right? That you got to change to passé récent. So hope you remember passé récent. So passé récent is recently past. Okay, so the sentences will be in another form, in another tense, maybe in present or in future. So you got to change it to passé récent. So now we'll see the sentences. Nathalie arrivera chez son ami. Tu parleras à ton collègue. Nous finirons notre projet. Vous prendrez du café. Il apprendra la nouvelle. So you can see the verbs. Okay, after the subject, we got the verbs. And in what form, in what tense it is conjugated. So it's conjugated in future simple. So the previous term we saw the future simple, right? So here, arriver, the verb, it's conjugated in future simple. Arrivera, parlera, finiront, prendrez, apprendra. Right? So now how you'll change it to passé récent. So in order to change a sentence in passé récent, so you got to remember two things. So the first thing, it's actually the verb venir. Right? The verb venir in present tense. So hope you remember this verb. Venir, je viens, tu viens, il vient, elle vient, nous venons, vous venez, ils viennent, elles viennent. So this is how we conjugate the verb venir in present tense. So that's the first step. This is the first thing you got to remember when you want to conjugate a verb in passé récent. So the second thing, it's actually the verb which is already conjugated here. Okay, so here, so these verbs, for these verbs you got to find the infinitive form. Oui, la forme infinitive, oui, la forme infinitive du verbe, right, which means the root form of the verb. Right, so arrivera, so the root form, it's simple to find. Arriver, you know this verb, right? Arriver, it's an er ending verb. Parlera, parler, it's the verb. Finiront, finir is the verb. Prendre, prendre, it's the verb. It's a re ending verb. This is a ir ending verb. Apprendra, it's apprendre verb. Okay, so normally apprendre will be ending with the e. Okay, so that's the infinitive form of apprendre. So how you'll form it now? So Nathalie, we take the subject, Nathalie. You got to conjugate the verb venir first. Nathalie vient. So this vient will be using because Nathalie it's feminine, singular. So third person. So elle vient. So we take vient. Nathalie vient. So then before adding the infinitive form of the verb, we'll be using de, right? So de in passé récent, the verb venir plus de plus infinitive form. Nathalie vient. De changes to d apostrophe because the verb arriver starts with the vowel. Okay, so Nathalie vient d'arriver. Right? D apostrophe Arriver. Nathalie vient d'arriver chez son ami. So which means Nathalie just reached her friend's place or her friend's house. Or Nathalie just arrived to her friend's house. Right? So passé récent, which means just arrived or just came and so on. Right? So we'll be using just in English. The second sentence, tu parleras à ton collègue. So the verb parler, which is conjugated, we find the infinitive form. It's easy, parler. So for tu, you got to conjugate the verb venir. Right? Tu viens. Then before the infinitive form, what we will be adding? De. Tu viens de parler à ton collègue. Okay, so tu viens de parler, D-E-P-A-R-L-E-R, à ton collègue. So which means you just spoke to your colleague. Okay, you just spoke to your colleague. So colleague, which means a colleague or a co-worker. Right? So the third one, nous finirons notre projet. For nous, how we will conjugate the verb venir? Nous venons. Nous venons de. We'll be adding de. Then comes the infinitive form of finirons. What is the infinitive form? Finir. Right? Nous venons de finir notre projet, which means we just finished our project. Oui, nous venons de finir notre projet. So the next one, vous prendrez du café, right, which means you will take some coffee. So you will take, right? So in passé, I mean future simple, prendrez it's like will take. So now here for vous, how will conjugate the verb venir? Vous venez de prendre. Infinitive form of prendre, it's prendre. Vous venez de prendre du café. You just took some coffee. You just had some coffee. The last one, il vient. Il vient. So again, we got a verb which starts with a vowel. So what we will be doing? D apostrophe instead of D. Il vient d'apprendre. D apostrophe. A-P-P-R-E-N-D-R-E. Il vient d'apprendre la nouvelle. He just learned the news, or he just came to know. Right? He just came to know the news. Right? La nouvelle means the news. So now we'll see the answers here. Nathalie vient d'arriver chez son ami. Tu viens de parler à ton collègue. Nous venons de finir notre projet. Vous venez de prendre du café. Il vient d'apprendre la nouvelle. Right? So the two things you got to remember, it's actually the verb venir, then the infinitive form of the verb. Then you'll be connecting it with de. Right? So that's it. So we'll move to the 12th exercise now. So this is quite similar, but with different steps. Mettez les phrases suivantes au présent progressif. So the previous exercise, it was passé récent. Passé récent, it's past tense. In this exercise, it's présent progressive. Okay, so présent progressive, it's present continuous tense in English, the ing form, right? Ing will be using I'm eating, I'm talking, I'm learning, I'm teaching. So those things in French we call it as présent progressif, right? So that is a small rule you got to remember. So we'll just go for the sentences first. Nous prenons notre déjeuner. Elle fait les exercices. Vous lisez les journaux. Il écrit une lettre à son ami. Elle achète des légumes. So you can see the verbs, they are conjugated in present tense. Right? They are conjugated in présent de l'indicatif. Okay, so even these are présent, but it's present présent de l'indicatif. Okay, even in present we got different forms, right? So here, so but you got to change it to présent progressif. Okay, so for example, nous prenons notre déjeuner. In English, for example, if you translate, which means we take our lunch. Okay, we take our lunch. So now you got to change it to we are taking our lunch. So that way you got to change. We are taking our lunch right now. Okay, so présent progressive, which means right now, like now what you're doing right now. So that's what it is. So the rule is simple. So the same thing. The infinitive form of the verb you got to remember. Okay, so prenons. What verb is it? Prendre. Same way like we saw in the previous exercise. Prenons, it's the verb prendre. Fait, it's actually the verb faire. F-A-I-R-E, to do, to make, faire. Lisez, it's actually the verb lire. L-I-R-E, to read. Oui, lire, to read. Écrit, it's actually the verb écrire. Écrire, to write. Oui, to write. E-C-R-I-R-E. Achète, so it's a ER ending verb. Acheter, oui, to buy. A-C-H-E-T-E-R, without accent. So now we know the infinitive form of these verbs, right? So now the rule is in présent progressive, how will you change to présent progressive? In the previous exercise, we had a connecting word, a verb, okay, which is the verb venir. That is for passé récent. For passé récent, we use the verb venir. For présent progressive, we use the verb être. Okay, the verb être, don't forget. So the verb être in present. So this is like we've been saying since years, right? So être, je suis, tu es, il est, elle est, nous sommes, vous êtes, ils sont, elles sont. So this is the verb être. And then in passé récent, in the previous exercise, we used de to connect the verb venir and the infinitive form. In between the verb venir and the infinitive form, we used de. Okay, so here you can see the de. But here in présent progressive, you got to add this, the whole thing, en train de. Oui, je suis en train de. Then comes the infinitive form. So for example, the verb prendre will conjugate in présent progressive. Je suis en train de prendre. Tu es en train de prendre. Il est en train de prendre. Elle est en train de prendre. Nous sommes en train de prendre. Vous êtes en train de prendre. Ils sont en train de prendre. Elles sont en train de prendre. So that's how you conjugate a verb in présent progressive, right? So now we'll apply it in the sentences. So nous. So first thing, it's actually you got to take the subject. You conjugate the verb être. Nous sommes. Okay. So after the verb être, what comes? En train de. Okay. So nous sommes en train de. Then comes the infinitive form. Prendre. Okay, nous sommes en train de prendre notre déjeuner, which means we are taking our lunch now, right now. And so the second sentence, elle fait les exercices. The verb faire is conjugated. The infinitive form is faire. Elle, et the verb être, Elle est en train de faire les exercices. Oui, elle est en train de faire les exercices. She is doing the exercises right now. Vous lisez les journaux. Vous êtes en train de lire les journaux. Oui, vous êtes en train de lire les journaux. The last before one. Il écrit une lettre à son ami. Il est en train de écrire. So, but the verb écrire, it starts with a vowel, right? The infinitive form even, it starts with a vowel. So what we do, we cut the E and add an apostrophe. Il est en train d'écrire. Il est en train d'écrire une lettre à son ami. So which means he is writing a letter to his friend now. Elle achète des légumes. So again, we got a verb which starts with a vowel. Elle est en train d'acheter des légumes. Elle est en train d'acheter des légumes. So she is buying some vegetables right now. Oui. So now we can check the answers here. Nous sommes en train de prendre notre déjeuner. Elle est en train de faire les exercices. Vous êtes en train de lire les journaux. Il est en train d'écrire une lettre à son ami. Elle est en train d'acheter des légumes. Oui. So vous êtes en train de lire les journaux, which means you are currently you are reading the newspapers right now. Oui. Voilà. And so we'll move to the 13th exercise, which is the last exercise for today. Mettez les phrases suivantes au futur proche. So even this exercise is quite similar. So you got to change the sentences to futur proche. Futur proche, as you know, it's one of the easiest tense in French. Right? So futur proche, which means near future. Okay, so which is an action which is going to happen in few minutes or in some time, which is sure, certain, which is going to happen. So then we will be using futur proche. And the rule is quite simple. For passé récent, we use the verb venir plus de plus infinitive. For présent progressive, we use the verb être plus en train de plus infinitive. For futur proche, we use the verb aller oui, plus infinitive. Okay, so this is really simple. We don't use de or en train de. Okay, we just add the verb aller plus the infinitive. That's it. Okay, we'll go for the sentences. Je vais au marché demain. So the verb aller, it's already conjugated here. Nous apprenons le français à l'université. The verb apprendre is conjugated. Il joue au cricket avec ses amis dans la rue. The verb jouer, it is conjugated. So jouer, which means to play. Vous achetez une voiture. The verb acheter is conjugated here. Tu rencontres tes amis. The verb rencontrer, it's conjugated here. Rencontrer, to meet. So careful with the spelling. We often make mistakes in the spelling. Okay, so raconter means to narrate. Rencontrer means to meet. Okay, you meet your friends. Right? So now all these sentences, the verbs are conjugated in présent. Au présent de l'indicatif. Right? I go to the market tomorrow. We learn French at the university. He plays cricket with his friends in the street. You buy a car. You meet your friends. Okay, so now you got to change it to like I am going to go to the market tomorrow. We are going to learn French at the university. He is going to play cricket with his friends in the street. You are going to buy a car. You are going to meet your friends. Okay, so that's how we change, right? So it's quite simple. The verb aller plus infinitive. So je vais, so this one, je vais aller. So the infinitive form of vais, it's aller, right? Je vais aller au marché demain. Okay, so nous allons apprendre le français à l'université. Nous allons apprendre le français à l'université. Il va jouer au cricket avec ses amis dans la rue. Vous allez acheter une voiture. Tu vas rencontrer tes amis. Yeah, hope it's simple. So we'll check the answers now. Here, je vais aller au marché demain. Nous allons apprendre le français à l'université. Il va jouer au cricket avec ses amis dans la rue. Vous allez acheter une voiture. Tu vas rencontrer tes amis. Yep. So, voilà. So that's it for today. We'll continue in the next class, right? The remaining few exercises. And this is like we got, as I told you, we got a lot of exercises, lot of different exercises in this lesson. So we'll be doing it 3 or 4 exercises a session. Okay. So thank you guys. Take care. So be safe. Merci beaucoup.